Hello, Carolyn. Let us know if you can't hear us or anything.
I can hear you.
All right, cool. We're waiting on a few more people, so.
Yeah, of course.
All right, enjoy.
Yep.
Can I talk back and forth with them and stuff, or how does that work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they can hear. I'm kind of just here for the tech support.
Okay.
So.
Do I have to unmute them to talk, or no?
Yes. Do you want me to just unmute everybody?
Sure.
Or I'll tell them to I'm going to mute us. Hello, Marcia. Let us know if you can't hear us or anything. Yeah. Step out of the way slightly. Nobody needs a close-up of my face.
There we go. Hi, Kate.
Hello, Gail. Let us know if you can't hear us or anything. Got a couple more minutes. All right, another new person. Hello, we're just waiting for a few more people to join.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you fine. Can you hear us?
Okay.
Cool.
Yes.
We're just waiting on a few more people, and then I'll give a little spiel, and then we'll start the class, so.
Sounds good.
All right.
They come, or
Yep.
when we start?
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Harmony Co-op's second ever virtual cooking class, our second class this season. And right in time for the holidays, we have a really exceptional one for you this time. In case you haven't met me before, my name is Kate Egelhoff. I'm the education specialist here. And this is our fantastic chef for the evening, Amy Dubray. She'll tell you more about herself in a little bit. We're all talking on Zoom together, so feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions. Just be cognizant of background noise. questions. And if the video cuts out or you have any concerns or any issues come up, please let us know right away. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
All right.
And we're going to go ahead and unmute everybody just so we can have kind of a back and forth. So feel free, unless you want to mute yourself for whatever background or whatever reason. But if you have a question, just say it right out. We'll kind of go from there.
Sounds good, guys. I think, though, that we should stay muted so we don't have dogs barking in the background and whatnot.
Whatever
Okay.
works.
Yep, whatever works for you guys.
Yep.
This is for you guys to have fun. So,
Yeah.
all right. If that works for everybody, I will step out of the way because y'all are not here for me. You are here for Amy and her fantastic cupcakes. So I will step back and let her take it away.
Yeah. Well, hello, everybody. So it's my first time teaching in any way, shape, or form on Zoom. I've had a couple of Zoom calls, as most of us have in this day and age. But so I will just apologize ahead of time if I don't know quite where to look. Up here or down there? Or?
The camera's
Right there.
yes. That
Okay.
we've got on the front of the
Hello.
computer, so that's probably good enough.
Straight ahead. Straight ahead is perfect.
There. Okay. So a little introduction to keto baking. I bake with keto. I do keto baking every single day. I sell my products here at Harmony. A little backstory: I have celiac disease, and as part of that, I've just had about 15 years or so where I'm trying to figure out what I can eat that makes me feel okay, that doesn't make me sick. My particular system, for whatever reason, I don't process carbohydrates the way that most people do. And because of that, I have to eat a super low carb diet. I like baked goods. I like making baked goods. So this has been a journey. I do make non-keto products. My son will testify to that. I have a feeling that he's going to ask whatever partner he knows in the future where his baked goods are, because that's how many baked goods he gets. But I am super passionate about helping people just with health in general. I have a doctorate in psychology, and I actually trade stocks is what I do now. And then I've been a personal trainer and a health coach too for about 20 years. So I have done quite a few things, but I'm just really honored to be able to share with you guys a way to have a really delicious product that is not too hard to make. It's a little conversions here or there with types of products that you have to use for keto baking to make it taste good, to make it stick together. But the end product is something that a diabetic can eat. The end product is something somebody with celiac disease can eat, or somebody who has allergy or aversion to grains, somebody who's on the low carb or keto lifestyle. All of those different needs are met through keto baking. I have one of my own muffins every single day for breakfast, and sometimes I have another one at lunch, depending on what I'm doing. So this is something that I've really embraced in my life, and again, just really excited to share it with you today. And you can make really great products for Christmas and Thanksgiving. Who does not like to do that? So I chose a pumpkin muffin with cheesecake filling and then cheesecake topping. Again, super tasty. So as we're going to go through this, and I'm going to mix my ingredients and go through the recipes. But if you have questions, I'm going to show you the different kinds of sugars, the sugar substitutes you can use, for example. And I'm not going to open all of them because I don't need them, but there are different options, and they have different taste consistencies and measuring capacities or measuring components to them. What I'm baking here today has animal products in it, but you don't have to have animal products. Most of the keto baking I actually do is completely vegan. I'm not a vegan. I eat a lot of meat, but I like most of my products, the baked products, actually, I think they taste better purely vegan. However, for what I'm doing today, I have found taste better with eggs and butter. So That's that. And I have not found dairy-free cheesecake that I like. So there's that too. Any questions on any of that? And I realize I talk a bit fast, and so I'm just being aware of that, trying to slow it down, which is hard for me, but I will do my best. But any questions?
Yeah. I'm going to double the recipe tonight, so I'm going to make muffins and a loaf. And would I just simply double the ingredients as I'm making it, or is there any that you would suggest I don't double?
I double it all the time. And in fact, I'm going to be doubling the cheesecake filling because I've already made 12 muffins and they're cooling so that I can show you how to pipe them. So no fancy, just double everything, mix it together to be good to go. And the loaf is amazing. When you're making the loaf, however, baking time is longer and lower. So when you put the loaf in, you're going to want to cook it at about 325, and you're going to want to cook it for about 50 to 55 minutes. Okay?
Okay.
Cupcakes they're baked a short amount of time. I've made that mistake so many times. But and any keto product, any baked good that you make that does not have the binder in it, which is in gluten or something like that in regular flour, it's a longer, slower bake time. This particular cupcake you could do pretty well with a regular bake time, but most of the products that I make that are keto products, they're going to be gooey on the inside if you don't bake them long enough. And so this again is for that trial and error process that's taken me years to figure out. But again, so lower and slower, and then don't be afraid if you see the top get too brown to put some foil over that and continue baking it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, very good. All right, any other questions before we get started? Just one really quick one. Are anybody on the keto lifestyle and been doing it for a while? Are we all kind of new to it?
I loosely do paleo, but I'm not that far into it. Yeah, keto's hard for me. I'm trying to get rid of sugar.
Yes.
In general, but
yes.
Maybe one day I'll get completely keto.
Yes. Let me share with you something real quick on sugar. So I have been totally, now again, you get a little sugar here and there with something, but pretty much totally sugar-free for about 3 years. And I'm a marathoner. I ran, over 20 marathons. And the last marathon that I ran, I was hurting so bad. I had gone to the doctor. Do I have arthritis? No, you should test me for all that. I hurt so bad all the time. I walked kind of like this, and then it took me a while, and then I finally come up, and I figured that last marathon, that was going to be it for me. I'm old, I'm grandma, I can't do this anymore. And then I hired a holistic nutritionist. She's actually in Milwaukee, now she's in Chicago, and we kind of, I took myself off of sugar, and that was part of this process too. I will tell you that I have no more pain. I have a very small amount of inflammation, and I feel better now than I did in my 20s. And so again, I just find I'm really strong with getting off of sugar. It is a life changer, even mentally. It causes you to be, you're just more energetic, you're less prone to anxiety and depression. There's a lot that goes on with sugar. So that is my on my little soapbox. I'll jump off of it, but it's so important. And if any of you would have questions about that, about how I did it, because it is an addiction process, and you have to pick the addiction. It takes about 3 weeks. But if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to share whatever you need to, whatever information is needed. So anyway, I'm appreciative that you brought that up, because getting off of sugar is a huge, huge deal for long-term I'm gonna go ahead and combine my dry ingredients first, and then I'm gonna do my wet ingredients, and I'm gonna combine them together. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you, I don't always do that at home. But for the purpose of the baking class, it's really the best way to do things. So in addition, I have my own chickens and my own eggs. These are not my eggs, but they're eggs that come from Harmony, and so they're organic and free-range and whatnot. I actually have never had my muffins without my eggs, so that'll be an interesting experience too. But anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to do my dry ingredients. I'm going to start with my almond flour. Almond flour comes in a couple of different styles. I actually grind my own almonds at home sometimes. It makes for a grainier texture and a little bit chewier. It's less expensive. So the other thing about baking any kind of keto product, it's going to be more expensive. The end of the road, you're going to pay less to the doctor, more than likely. So for me, pay this over here, pay less over here by far, feel better, adds up for me, but that is a complaint that people have. Nonetheless, I think it's totally worth it. So again, this is just almond flour that you can get here. It's Bob's Red Mill. It's a fine brand. I use a variety of brands. Most of them are blanched and ground super fine. But again, you can do this yourself in a food processor. It will just be a little bit chunkier, and then the brown kind of husk of the almond, you'll have that little speck here, but again, that doesn't bother me. But this is Bob's Red. So we have a cup and a half of almond flour. Are you guys following along and doing this with me, or just watching?
I'm watching.
I'm doing it with you.
Thank you.
I'm watching.
What do you guys think about the no sugar situation? Anybody have thoughts about that?
Yeah, I'd like to,
It's hard. I gotta tell you, it's really hard. You're right. I mean, sugar is very addictive. So sometimes I fall off the wagon, if you will.
It is a drug. Bodies treat it like a drug. I will tell you, when I first quit not eating sugar, I used to love gummy worms. I know that's terrible to admit, but it's true. And I would go into Menards and I'd go by where the gummy worms were, and I would literally start like salivating. I'm like, oh my gosh, gummy worms. And I stopped myself, and again, it took 3 weeks, and it takes 3 weeks to make a break a habit. There's a lot of truth to that. And then after that, it was easier. Now, when I eat sugar, and I have from time to time, I feel so bad that it actually is like a self-reinforcer for me. So there is light at the end of that tunnel, but yes, it's an addiction. So next, we're going to use psyllium husk powder. A little bit of discussion about psyllium husk powder. This is super high in fiber, which again, if you are on the keto lifestyle or interested in doing that, or paleo, sometimes we don't get enough fiber. And so these muffins are going to be very, very fiber rich. So keep that in mind, because not only is the psyllium husk full of fiber, the flaxseed is full of fiber, omega-3, so on and so forth. So psyllium husk is a ground seed. It comes from a type of plantain in South America and some parts of Asia. And it does kind of serve as a binder. So the binder, the eggs too, these are great binders. In fact, there's something called a flax egg, where you take flaxseed, I think we use about 3 tablespoons, put it in half a cup of water. It turns super thick, and it will bind all of your baked keto products. And it will be moist forever. And it's going to be vegan. And so again, if I'm not using eggs, which I don't frequently, this was a game changer in my baking. Okay, so psyllium husk powder, and again, I am just doing the single. I know somebody's doubling it, so keep that in mind. The psyllium husk powder, we're going to do 1 tablespoon.
The recipe says 1 teaspoon.
That's a typo. It's a tablespoon.
It's 1 tablespoon? It says 1 teaspoon.
No, it's a tablespoon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That's Typo. Thank you for asking, though. That would
Yes.
be okay. So let's.
Did we get the recipe? Where did we get the recipe?
We had cards available at the store, and I sent out an email with the recipe earlier. I apologize if you didn't get it. I can try.
Oh, that's okay, Kate. I'll look.
Okay.
I'll look at my email. I do have a question. Do you guys have an external mic that you could put closer to her? Because it comes in and out. And that may be just my experience, but are you using the speaker in the...
Have an external mic right now. We're working on getting one for future classes, but unfortunately we are working off this laptop for now.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That's okay.
Feel free to just ask, and can you hear me now when I talk like this? Is that okay?
Yeah, but I don't want you to be uncomfortable either.
I'm flexible. I'll try to lean in when I speak. So I'll do that. Okay, so we're gonna do a quarter teaspoon of salt. Is that what we have on there? Quarter teaspoon?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And again, I am not a good measurer, so do that. Our dry ingredients. Now we're going to have our sugar discussion. My favorite is monk fruit sweetener. I find it to not have the aftertaste, and it has a texture more like regular sugar. It is a little more expensive, but I really like this kind of sweetener.
What is it called?
Called monk fruit sweetener. So it's a natural sweetener.
Oh, okay.
Made from
Yep.
company's Lancanto. And again, it's a little more expensive, but this is worth it. So I use this the most, and it's my favorite. I didn't find this till recently. If I don't use my monk fruit sweetener, what I typically use is Swerve. I find Swerve has a powdered sugar option, and it has a granular option. We're going to use both today. I have found that this also has less of an aftertaste and measures pretty much like sugar. But definitely the monk fruit is my favorite. There is one more. Now you can get this, I think it's, there's one that you can get at, what is it called? It's at the regular grocery stores. It's not coming to me. Anyway, there's a couple of others out there. These are my favorites.
Have you ever used xylitol?
And that's what this is. And that's what I was going to say. No, I have not. I just actually saw this today, so I'm thinking of buying one and taking it home and trying it. Have you used it?
Yeah, I have, not in baking a lot, but I use it in my tea and, beverages and whatnot. Yeah, but it has laxative-like qualities, so you have to be careful. I wouldn't recommend using the serving size.
Yeah. No,
that it says, because I think it says a tablespoon is a serving size.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
I appreciate that you say that, because most of the sweeteners do have a little bit of that effect. I'll tell you what you can do to get away from that if you don't want to use a sweetener. So real maple syrup has the lowest glycemic index of any natural type of sweetener. It is going to give you a few more carbs, but it's so sweet. Now, I don't eat sugar, so everything to me is a lot sweeter than it used to be. But it's so sweet that I typically, so if you're going to use it in this, for example, you would do about 1/3 of a cup of real maple syrup, and then I would add just a little bit of water to that, and then mix it and put it in there. But that's a way to get away from, and it's going to give a mapley flavor, which I actually kind of like. But that's a way if you don't want to use the fake sweeteners. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Excellent. All right. So, and the other thing is, because there's so much fiber in these already, that you just got to be thoughtful about that, especially if you're a person that does not eat a lot of fiber. They have a lot of fiber, so just keep that in mind. I'll leave that at that. Okay, so I'm going to get back on track here. We've got salt, We have had the psyllium husk powder, and we have had the almond meal. Now we're going to have the sweetener. So again, we have 1 cup of sweetener. Of your choice. If you're doubling it, obviously 2. And baking powder. Again, we're using our Bob's Red Mill, which is a pretty good product. And we're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. No need to have it heaping, by the way. I find that it's easy to do too much baking powder in some of these products, and then it has a taste to it that I don't like. Okay, where are we at? Did I say baking powder? Salt. Oh, flax. My favorite ingredient in keto products. As I said, when I started using this, it was a game changer. All of my products became moist. They never got dry. They stuck together. If any of you are used to eating anything that is gluten-free, that's a baked good, you know that sometimes it's grindy. It comes apart. This is not like this. This makes everything different. So this is a game changer. We're gonna do 1/2 cup of this. And again, holy moly, it has a lot of fiber in it. So we did our golden brown flax, 1/2 cup. We did our psyllium husk. We've done our sugar substitute, our baking powder, our salt. And let's get the walnuts in there. So I already pounded my walnuts. Do so as you please. I just use a spoon and pound it, to be honest. And I already have measured it, so I'm just going to dump it in. And so the amount of is 1/4 cup. All right, we're going to head on to our spices. So if you guys are cooking at home, you'll be able to smell these spices. Kate and I have been like, oh, it smells like Christmas and Thanksgiving. And the spices here at Harmony are so fresh, you know, so there's just, if you could smell, it's delightful. Okay, so we are going to start with our nutmeg. And we have 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg.
Hey, Kate.
Yes.
What is the email address that we can email you for the recipe?
Education at harmonyfoods.coop. We also do have print recipe cards available at the store, and I promise that by tomorrow I will have fixed the psyllium husk typo. So you can even get like a print copy with a cute picture of cupcakes on it if you would like.
Okay, what was that? One more time. I apologize.
Education
At
Yep.
harmonyfoods.coop.
Yep.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
So cloves next. Yummy. So we're going to do 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. Okay, and then we have a nutmeg, we did our clove, we're going to do our ginger and our cinnamon. Ginger, we have 1.5 teaspoons. So super spicy. If you don't want this much spice, the alternative that you can do is some pumpkin pie spice mix. That works just as well. I add a little bit of, and it depends on how much rubbery I'm in, I add a little bit of cinnamon to that sometimes. sometimes, but again, when I'm on a roll, I'm just kind of da, 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 da. So if you love to measure it out, but that is also an option, pumpkin pie seasoning. If you guys are you aware of that? Have you tried that before? This is cinnamon. So cinnamon, we're looking at 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons. Okay, we've got all of our dry ingredients. Let me just go over it. So we did our sugar, our substitute. We did our baking powder, our cinnamon, our salt. We did our almond flour, our flax, our psyllium husk. We did cloves, ginger, nutmeg, walnut. We're good to go. So we can just mix that right up. And if you're making it, enjoy that smell. It reminds me of the holidays. I think we all need a little bit of a happy dose right now, don't we? At least I do. Okay, so that is mixed nicely. It's important to mix that in. We don't want a big taste of, especially one of the spices, without being mixed in. You don't want to taste of that baking powder. So make sure you mix that pretty evenly. I don't know if you see this, but there it is. All right, working on the wet ingredients next. So I have just a can of pumpkin. There are 15 ounces in a can of pumpkin. This recipe calls for 7. If you are doubling it, you can probably just put the whole thing in there. I'm going to put half of this in here, and we'll save the half for something else that we do. So, and again, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty close. All right, we got our pumpkin. Now eggs. Boy, 4 eggs. What? Right? So it's a nice recipe. It's rich. It doesn't taste eggy, but most recipes that you have that are keto that have animal products in them will have a lot of eggs. I made a lemon cake that was absolutely divine. It had 7 eggs. I was like, whoa, okay, this is gonna taste eggy, and it didn't. So I was kind of shocked by that. So again, 4 eggs. I'm gonna use this for our little compost. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I got a little shell in there, all taken care of. And I'm gonna get a little paper towel. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and add. Now I have, actually, Kate, could you heat this up again?
Yes.
I need to melt my butter, so we'll do that. And I just melt that in the microwave. You can do it however you like. I know some people don't like to use microwave. Let's do a little bit of vanilla. And so our vanilla is 1 teaspoon. Okay, a little bit of vanilla. Sometimes I put extra vanilla in. I like it. I'll be professional. I'll do that right in the I don't think a little bit hurts though. Melt the butter. Thank you, dear. Okay, so we're gonna get the rest. I'm gonna do the butter at the end, and I'm gonna whisk that in. Can I get a whisk? Thank you. Let's see. So we have eggs. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna whisk this. Get those eggs incorporated. We don't want our butter to do anything. Make those eggs scramble at all. Not that it will, but you never know. So I've had that happen before. Unpleasant. My son would eat that. I had to eat it all myself. now we're gonna add wet to dry. Thank you. And I'm just gonna mix that in. So I love baking. I bake, I think I might have told you, I bake every single night. Always trying something new. Last night I made 4 pies. I have clients, I make them pies for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I do some keto pies. I do some non-keto pies, just a variety. But I don't know about you guys, but there's something satisfying about baking. Anyway, okay. So now we're gonna actually put these inside of our muffin tin. You can, at this point, do a loaf pan. I like to use coconut spray with my loaf pans. I've also rubbed with coconut oil. I kind of like the taste of coconut, so I actually incorporate it a lot. But you can also just use regular butter or whatever you use to, grease your pan. I'm going to use muffin papers, cups in a muffin tin, so no need to use any spray in that. But let me find how to actually get that muffin pan out and take my muffins out and then reline it. So I'm going to go get those. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take these muffins. I just baked these, and I baked them in the convection oven. They're actually a little browner. If I can't see me, they're a little browner than I would like them to be. The convection oven cooks a little faster. So if you have a convection oven, keep that in mind. You don't want the tops to get too brown.
I have a question.
Yes.
How full should the muffin cups be full for the muffins?
And so this is a baked, can you see this?
Yeah.
This is a baked muffin that I've already baked, and it's almost, it's close to being full. So, if you want to be precise about this, there's a scoop. Could you grab me there's a scoop out of there, like yes, ice cream scoop. So if you want to be precise about it, you can use a scoop, and I'll show you as we're doing that right now how full to make it. So let me get my little.
But were you saying that the muffin you showed us that you filled your muffin things like pretty full?
I feel pretty full. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
okay.
Yeah. If you want to make a smaller muffin, you don't have to fill them that full, but they don't blossom up like floured muffins would. That's not going to happen very frequently in keto baking. And so, in fact, I don't know that I've ever had a problem where something's actually, fold over or something like that. So the volume is not going to be terribly different from what you start with. Does that make sense?
Right. And it's been so long since I've made muffins or cupcakes that I sort of remembered sometimes you don't fill it all the way full, but
right.
Yeah.
So we're going to take this standard scoop, okay, and this actually also really makes it a lot easier if you have a scoop. I don't know if you guys have ever used a scoop when doing muffins, but I have found it to be so much easier. So I'm going to fill this up. I'm going to come here close.
Oh.
You guys see that?
Yeah.
All right, so there's a little gap in there. So I'm going to fill it up about that full. And then I'm just gonna put it in there. And that's gonna give you, that's not a very full muffin, but I think for what we're doing in a start, you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay, so what we're doing in a start, I think let's just make it streamlined. I actually just went with this with my scoop, but it's a lot easier to get them uniform if you use the scoop. And if I'm cooking them for Harmony to sell, obviously I measure, but you don't have to do that, of course, at home unless you are perfectionist, and well, I've had my perfectionist moment, so you know, you do what feels good to you. But so we're just gonna go ahead and fill these muffin cups with a scoop each. See how easy that is? If you guys cook muffins, the scoop is a changer. It's fast, it's easy to clean, they all look the same, so on and so forth. Right.
Have you ever figured out or calculated how many grams of carbs are in each muffin?
So I can give you a pretty good estimate. These are super low carb. So if you put the maple syrup in there, that's where the carb count is going to come. These are going to be around 3 net carbs. 3.
Wow, wow.
Now and they have a lot of fiber, but the carb count is super low because if you think about, you know, where do the carbs come from? I mean, the pumpkin, and that's not super high. And per muffin, pretty dang low. The almond flour is very small amount, mostly fiber carbs. The sweetener doesn't have any. So yeah, it's carb-wise, these are low. And you know, again, I don't get sick when I eat these. So that tells me right there that they don't have a lot of carbs in them. Also, my body, I am super sensitive to carbs. I can't process them. I have a lot of inflammation when I eat carbs. I get lethargic in my thinking. I just have a lot of problems with it. So it's just not worth it. And I'm actually going to come up a little bit shy of 12.
Do you ever substitute protein powder for some of the flour?
I do not. I've tried. There are too many ingredients in protein flour for me. All of these are pretty much single ingredient types of products here. And I try to eat single ingredients. I mean, I blend the ingredients, single ingredients together. But again, I'm so sensitive to different kinds of foods. If I don't mix it and it has a lot of different products in it, I'm probably going to get sick with it. It's unfortunate.
Oh, okay.
Now I have tried, I have been trying to make a good keto bread for a long time, and that's tough. It's either too eggy, it's too flaky. There's just a variety of issues when you're making keto bread. So I have tried to use the protein powder for substitute, and that was okay. Recently, I did a microwave keto bread that actually was pretty dang good. I toasted it and I had a turkey sandwich. And for those of you who I don't know if you see celiac disease, it is a treat to have a turkey sandwich. I was like, wow, this is great. And it was really good. The bread was, I was pretty impressed. I'm gonna go ahead and scrape this out of there with this. I don't like to waste the batter inside of my scoop because it does get stuck in there. Okay, so I'm going to take, and again, one less, and that sometimes happens, but I'm going to take and put these in the oven. Now we're not going to sit and watch them bake because I've already got some out of here. So you want to put them in the oven, and I have it down here. What do we have? 350. For I think at 38 minutes for muffins. In this oven, because it's a convection oven, it's a really fast cooker. So I cook it for many fairly frequently, and I learned this the hard way. It will burn quickly. So if you have a convection oven, you want to make sure to take that into consideration. Literally, it's probably going to take 18 minutes in the convection oven, and I'm going to have to put foil on it during that time too. So let me do that. And actually, I think we'll cook these later because that's loud and I don't know if they can hear me. Okay? Yep. Okay. So I'll put this in here and then we'll put fingers on later. All right. So now is the time for questions or thoughts as we're going through this process. And then we'll get to the cream cheese frosting, my favorite. None at all, huh? we're going to do cream cheese frosting or cheesecake filling, whatever you want to call it. It's super easy, not very many ingredients. Obviously, if you have a dairy allergy, this is not the filling for you. You could try a variety of other things, whether it's coconut would probably be the best option if you like coconut, but I think I shared with you I haven't found a cheesecake filling that is non-dairy that I like. So how am I doing on time?
Okay, got it. However much time you need.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get started with this. Now I am going to double this recipe because I made muffins earlier, and then we have muffins that will cook here, and I want to have frosting for all of them. So I'm going to double the recipe, but as you're going through this recipe, obviously you'll have the instructions there. I'm just going to add twice of everything. So the first thing, of course, I'm going to have is my cream cheese. So it calls for 4 ounces of cream cheese. I'm going to use 8. And let's see here, I need another spoon. Sure, but that's just fine. All right. Any kind of cream cheese will do. I don't like to get the cheap stuff. Cream cheese is one of those items I have found. It's best to go with the good stuff because the cheap stuff is crumbly. And anyway, that's been my experience. Perhaps you have had it. Okay, so then we're going to use 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. Obviously, I'm going to do 4. Just something about heavy cream. Oh, yeah. Just love it. Reminds me of my mom in the holidays, actually. Then we are going to have our sugar substitute. And the only powdered sugar substitute I use is Squirt. I have not used another powdered one, so I'm sure that they exist. I actually haven't seen them though. This is the only powdered sugar substitute that I have seen. Again, you could use anything that requires sweetness. You could always use that maple syrup. It's going to have a little mapley taste, but again, I think that is absolutely fine. Okay, so you will use a half cup of powdered sugar substitute. I'm obviously going to use a cup. And as you're making these, I have, and again, it's because I don't eat sugar, so everything's a little sweeter for me anyway. Sometimes I have decreased the amount of sugar in the next recipe that I make because of how sweet, how sweet it is. So if you're making this and you taste it and you think that's too sweet, either, next time change it up, or you could always add more cream cheese, more heavy cream, butter, whatever it is to balance that out. So don't be afraid to do that as you go through this, and if something doesn't taste the way that you want it to taste. Sweeteners have a different level of sweetness than regular sugar. Okay, we are going to use 2 tablespoons of softened butter. I am going to use 4 tablespoons because I'm doubling it. And I'm actually going to have Kate blend this up because our plug-in over here, we didn't try that side, but yeah. But I'm going to have Kate do the blending for us. That butter, this takes a lot of blending. You want that butter to be nice and whipped. And if you've ever made a buttercream frosting, you know that butter aerates and it gets fluffier and more delicious the more that you eat it. So don't be afraid to overmix this. It's going to take a lot of mixing to get all of it incorporated together anyway. But just keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm going to give this to Kate. And we will wait. Any questions?
Yeah, I think I missed what you said about how to mix all this stuff. Did you say to use a blender or what'd you say?
Yes, I actually didn't say. So thank you for mentioning that. At home, I use my KitchenAid. Now,
Oh,
it's way over here. And then I was going to use a hand mixer. We couldn't get the hand mixer to work earlier. So Kate is actually using a hand pureer. So a mixer, your KitchenAid. So your KitchenAid is great. You can just let that go and be done with it.
okay.
Or a hand mixer, which you're going to have to sit there and do, or in Kate's using that kind of plunger mixer. But any of those are fine. You want to have something that really whips that butter up, though. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? How's it going? Where are you? We probably should have used the KitchenAid, but we were thinking that it was all the way over there. Might as well do this. So she's being a trooper. Do you guys have any questions about the not eating sugar or interested in having that lifestyle or going down that path? Don't all talk at once. That's okay. It's going to take a while. That butter takes a while to whip up. Probably should use KitchenAid.
Have you ever made graham cracker crust keto?
I have, and so you can get keto graham crackers. Most of those you have to get online. You can also make keto graham crackers. I use Pinterest for a lot of my ideas that I get. I have made a coconut and almond pie crust as well. It's pretty tasty. That takes a while to get it right, but you know, if you're going to do the keto, I would look at keto graham crackers. I don't know if they have them here. Do you know if they have keto graham crackers here, Kate?
They have gluten-free at Harmony, but I don't think they have keto.
You know, and that's the issue with gluten-free. You know, you get your gluten-free products, they have so much sugar in them. And
yeah,
I think that was an issue when I went through that period where I just hurt all the time. I was eating way too much sugar. And it's just, you know, and that's kind of why when I started making these muffins, actually a friend of mine who I was teaching an exercise class to asked me what I ate, and I gave her one of my muffins, and then she asked if I could make those for her. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, that's how I kind of got started in that. But I could not find a good product, a baked good product that was sugar-free in the stores. And so, and that's, you know, I love that I can make them and sell them here for people who need those. And they're, you know, even for somebody that said is diabetic, anything like that. It's a nice product to have. You know, it's quick to eat. It tastes good. You know, and you don't have to worry about getting sick from it. But yeah, look online for the keto graham crackers. If not, go to Pinterest and put in their keto graham cracker recipe, and you should find something.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to see how my consistency is. Okay, we're almost there. So again, the best way to do this is really with the KitchenAid, because then it can be going really, you know, while you're doing other things, and it whips up the butter so nice. You want to make sure that butter is well incorporated and whipped up into the product, where you're going to get little chunks of butter, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but maybe not the surprise you were looking for. So when she brings the filling back in, I like to take a coffee cup, but I also take like a canning jar. And for my piping, I will take just a plastic bag and I'll just stick it right in there, fold that over. It's easy to get the frosting in there. Cheap, effective, that's a good way to do it. Actually, before I do this though, and I'm glad I was reminded, I've got to cut a little corner off. And you can pipe it in a variety of ways. I have a little topper here, and I'm actually going to put that topper inside of the corner. So I'm going to get a scissor. Right, so I'm just going to cut off a little corner. I don't like to make it too big. You can always cut more, but not necessarily less. And I'm going to stick my copper in there. Now you could have a traditional copper that works as well, but this should work just fine. And then I'm going to stick it in here. All right, I think we're ready for our frosting. I'm going to be tasting this, so hopefully it's delicious. It's my favorite part. I absolutely love cheesecake. I think Kate does too, don't you, Kate?
I'm having a hard time not to eat right out of the bowl. I will tell you that right now.
I do have a little reaction to dairy, to be honest. I find that it gives me a little inflammation. So I don't eat dairy every day, but certainly these are a little treat. Wonderful to have. Okay, so if you have never frosted like this before, again, what I do is I just take it and scrape it, right? Scrape it down. It's a little messy, not near as messy as it would be. So I kind of push it down this way, right? Right, and you might have to fill this twice, kind of depending. And so this is what makes it so easy, right? Then you can just do this. Feed it down. I hate wasting, so I try to really get all of that in there. And look at there, we're golden. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to take our muffin and see, can they see if I set it down on here, do you think? I believe so. I can try. Better. Okay. What I like to do is cut just a little kind of hole in there. Just take it and use a butter knife. It's probably a better idea. It's a little dangerous to use this, but just put a little knife in there because again, that's going to allow it to get in there easily. Of course, I take this, I fill. And then you can make whatever design you want. With this particular topper, it might be fun to just kind of do some little things like that. Uh-oh, we're leaking. See that?
Like plastic bag.
Right? Little plastic bag failure. So again, you can use a piping bag. It's probably a good idea as well. And then a regular, this obviously is like a squirt bottle top. If you have a regular topper, use that. The other thing you can do is not use a topper at all and just use the pure plastic bag. And it's kind of actually, it's like confetti coming out of here. So you can actually put a little bit of confetti on there. Look at that.
Okay, that is kind of neat.
Perfect. Making lemonade out of lemons here. Okay, so here we go. Now again, any kind of topper you want to put on there, if you want to do a round, if you want to kind of do one of those Dairy Queen toppers, however you want to put the top of that on. but that would be the end product. So now, the best thing ever is the taste test, right? So let's see how this goes. So again, I made these earlier. And, you know, it comes off pretty well, which is also important because, again, sometimes you use tasting mixture. Sometimes you use, when you use these kind of products, it stays, too much of it stays on here. And then you know that's just not what you wanted. So again, here is what it looks like. I am actually going to break it open. Oh yeah, it's nice and moist. Now, if you have a thicker, it doesn't have a lot of cream on the inside, as you can see. You can, I'll do another one, and I'll do a bigger little crevice there, and then we'll fill that as well, because I like this to have a little bit more filling on there. Anyway, you want really better wait with the virus.
I'll wait. I'll eat leftovers.
Oh yes, that's so good. And so it's just super moist. And again, for somebody who has celiac disease, all the baked goods are powdery and grainy. And this was just, I was so pleased to finally find a product that I could make that tastes good, but these are good. So good. The butter, so, you know, in a cheesecake, you're not going to use butter. That butter, it just makes this almost like a cheesecake butter cream. It's just absolutely delicious. Okay, I'm gonna finish this here, and then I'm going to actually make. I'm gonna do another one, and I'm gonna widen out the space so that we can fill a little bit more. I'm gonna wash my hands.
Those are good. That looks good.
Super delicious, guys. At least I think so. I hope that you do too. Okay, so I'm actually going to take this one, and I'm just gonna open it up a little bit. So again, the other thing that you can do is use a butter knife because it's safer, which I would recommend. So I'm making, you can see that there's a bigger hole there. And the other thing I'm going to do, how are we going to repair that? We got a plastic bag issue, you guys know. Okay, we're just going to have to deal with it. So I'm going to go ahead and just put that in there. We have funfetti coming at the same time. I've never done a funfetti muffin, but here we are. Funfetti, seriously, look at that, right? Little ribbons of deliciousness.
Very festive.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So again, this is not the perfect job of the spin, but with a piping bag and regular piping bag and a regular piping tip, you'll have a better outcome. So I would definitely do that. I've honestly also just used a bag, a bigger bag, and stuck it in there and make a nice bowl, and then kind of whipped it around and stuff. But anyway, so this one we'll have to give to Kate. All right. Any thoughts, questions? I hope you guys try this. Seriously, that was a good muffin. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but that was tasty. And again, I can eat that. I'm not going to get sick. I don't have a lot of carbs. I have all sorts of vitamins and minerals, from the pumpkin to the flaxseed to the psyllium husk to the almonds. So it's just a nice product. I appreciate you guys being interested enough to sit here with me and go through this with me. Any questions?
Yeah, well, I don't know you, and it sounded like, so you bake things that Harmony sells?
Yes.
If so, what is it that you have there that you bake?
So I have two products. When you make a nutritional claim in the United States, you have to have it through the FDA process. And so if they say keto, then they have to have the nutrition label and all of the information on there. And that's kind of a big process. So I've only done it on two products. I have done it on a muffin, and it's not like a morning muffin. It's actually the muffin I eat every morning. And it has the carb count on there and calories. And that one is just blueberries, it's apples. That's a fully vegan muffin too, by the way. And then I also do a vegan chocolate chip cookie. Have you had that?
Yes, they're amazing.
They're really good. And those have like 1 net carb. Those are screaming low. And so again, those actually no, the chocolate chips are vegan, a fully vegan product. So I sell those here at what Harmony sells them, but I make them here. And I would love to do more of this, but it's such a, I have a full-time job. I'm actually a single mom and a grandma at the same time, but the process is kind of cumbersome to do that with the nutrition facts and everything. So I would love to do it on these. I have not. But if you make a claim of something being keto, you can't just slap on the ingredients. It actually has to have nutrition facts on there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thanks.
But these are products I eat every day and have for quite a few years now. And again, I feel better than I felt for all my life, probably. Any other questions?
Well, thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you for spending time with me and being interested in these products.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My muffins are in the oven. My
Yes,
frosting
thank you.
tastes great.
I'm glad. I hope they turn out.
Yeah, I'm excited.
On
Thank
behalf,
you.
on behalf of Harmony, I want to thank you all for coming and joining us. I know it's not the classes we have been used to in the past, but we're so happy to be able to do these in any medium that we can. So thank you for joining us on Zoom and bearing with us. We are working on a microphone situation.
And again, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm very open to talking about any of the stuff tonight that I've talked about. And Kate has my email.
Yep, and I can show anybody where any of these products are in the store. Just come in during the meeting and I can give you a little keto class tour.
Well, thank you for being creative and having a Zoom.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you guys for coming. And happy holidays for all of you as well.
Yep, happy holidays, Bill.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.